Valve has started April with yet more map changes. Let's start with Nuke. A bomb stuck spot near Silo has been fixed. Normally this would be something predictable, like clipping off an area behind a barrel or down between two props. But when we compare these images, what do you see? They've clipped a flat bit of ground. I didn't know about this particular bomb stuck spot, but I can guess what's happened. The ground here is a displacement, and I've covered before how items can fall down between displacements even when there's seemingly no gap, like in this black hole video of mine from a few years ago. I guess that's what happened to a C4 here at some point. It is disappointing that Valve would rather address this by clipping the floors, instead of fixing the problem with the displacements itself. I'm making a lot of assumptions in this video, dangerous assumptions. A few updates ago I pointed out an old bug where weapons could be picked up through walls. So Valve changed it so that players had to have a direct line of sight with the weapons to be able to pick them up. Now, because of that change, I'm assuming that a new problem was exposed where weapons hidden behind junk on the floor weren't able to be picked up. Hence this update today, which will let players pick weapons up through junk objects on the floor which should only ever have served as decoration in the first place. Not content with only fixing problems, Valve are now outdoing themselves by fixing things that are already fixed. Take this second miscellaneous change. Before Panorama, this was a big problem for me, since reloading demos or levels would enable some HUD elements that should have been hidden, such as the equipped weapons and stuff, which you may occasionally see on some of my older videos. But this has already been fixed for me for almost a year now. Abbey has got to be the most frequently updated community map we've ever had. This time we see a multitude of middle-sized changes. Just as they opened up the skybox above Barn at Bombsite A a few updates ago, they've done the same between Bombsite B and the middle of the map. Here it is previously. You can't see Bombsite B since the skybox is closed. And here it is, more opened up. There's still some invisible stuff going on here. Just make sure your grenades go to the left of where I'm shooting and they'll land somewhere around Bombsite B, if it's not a completely atrocious attempt. I got to speak with The Whale Man, one of the makers of the map. He said how updates are done by scrubbing through any reference to the map on Reddit, Twitter and HLTV, from any direct feedback they get from players, from their own experiences when playtesting their map, and from data collected from the map's official inclusion within CSGO. This helps them to get a general feel for the map's balance, as well as information for pistol and later rounds from matches played at Nova and Eagle Plus ranks. They make an experimental version of the map that they playtest privately, and have dabbled with several major reworks of Bombsite B that they've decided not to use. He said that Abbey was made for a Mapcore contest, and the deadline meant they couldn't optimise it as much as they wanted, which is why these spots were closed up. I guess they have since improved frame rates enough to justify opening the skybox up for gameplay purposes again. He also said that the glow of the glow sticks was removed in an update a few weeks ago because it was giving away players' positions through smokes. And the extra crate here was added to stop a cheeky boost over that was never intended. Oh, and the crate in middle was called Pinky because of this. They knew about this for a while, but when others figured it out, they knew the jig was up and had to replace the problem prop. This tarpaulin was formerly made using a displacement, which is a very sauce way of detailing things, but this update has seen it swapped out for a higher detail custom prop. The rest of the updates are over at B's site. The railing at CT entrance to the site has been taken out, making it wider and improving visibility. And while CT entrance has been widened, terrorist entrance has been narrowed by extending this hut a bit. The cover at the site itself has all been shifted towards the centre. This changes so many things I made this comparison shot before and after, rather than trying to summarise it with a few still images. Having everything in the middle will also affect the afterplant positions. Long B has also been changed. This bit of fence has been added back again, to give attackers extra cover as they approach the site from this route. The wheelbarrow has been taken out of this corner to let players hide up closer to the crate for better cover. Oh, and a tree has grown from nowhere to give additional cover to anybody close to it. I don't trust trees. They're all spindly and scratchy like that of an emaciated woman's claws, sprouting from the ground, which I assume is why a load of flat, simple-looking planks of wood have been nailed to it. This simplifies its outline, but whoever did it should be expecting a phone call from Pat Gas shortly. As you'd expect from such changes, the radar has been updated and clipping has apparently been improved. But somebody forgot to build the cube maps, so none of the windows will have reflections and your AWP won't reflect surrounding scenery. But oddly, the benches in Palace look as covered in paint as ever. And lastly, vertigo. There are only so many ways I can rephrase the same joke, but they've built this map up even more by raising the ground approaching Bombsite B. This will change all of the angles between the two levels, but I like to think this was done because I pointed out that you could no longer drop down onto the panels below without taking damage. Rather than to raise the props like any sensible person would, They instead raised the entire floor. This solution is almost like an April Fool's joke, with added valve time. Also, valve please fix. This extra metal block has been placed on the B site, which will completely hide players using this one-way drop from anybody stood at site. It did feel awfully exposed before, as you had to check so many spots at once, and then had nowhere to hide once you did drop down. Also, there have been other small changes to this area which I'll show in pictures here. You may notice that some of the items in the before category look blacker than you remember. This happens when Valve updates a prop but doesn't keep the old one, so unfortunately these comparisons won't show how they were previously. The texture is lost and the shape will be the same as the new version, but worse than that, it'll confuse everybody watching this video. You have been warned. You could previously jump around the outside of the I-beams, which clearly wasn't intentional and would catch players off guard. You could argue that this is all part of learning a map, but pixel walks are generally frowned upon in CSGO for being too exploitative, so have been patched up. I believe it was patched in an earlier update, but less than 2 weeks ago, this was possible and could have been used as a spot to hide at the end of the round if you had enough health to pull it off. But spots you can't get out from again are also bad, so this is also being removed. These blue bucket things were to block line of sight between T-spawn and B site, but there was still a small gap between them and the wall just here. This has been blacked up. This flashy bit of red netting was commonly used to hide behind as an OP, if somewhat risky, camping spot. It has been replaced with simpler, more boring wire, though you can still camp behind it if you really want to. Fans of the red netting will be happy to know that this stuff still remains in CT spawn and along the route from T-spawn to B. I can't help but notice that this level has seen more and more stuff added to stop players from falling off the sides. It's almost as though plummeting to your death isn't a suitable gameplay mechanic in a competitive map. It does make me wonder how they choose which spots are blocked off, and which are left open for accidents to happen. Would they rather have it all blocked off, but choose to keep some spots open to remain faithful to the beloved 1.6 version? Or did they leave a few spots open and have an accident counter to make the falls that do happen all the more embarrassing? And while we're talking about it, just how many floors is Vertigo really? Dankly named Got Yeeted So New Ack recently posted on Reddit saying that this map isn't actually based on the 50th and 51st floor. If you count them, there are 44 glass-sided floors, then the concrete bits just above and below them. For this to be the 50th floor, this means that these two grey shiny metallic bits, when combined, must amount to 5 floors in total. 4, maybe, but 5's pushing it. Stews suggested that they skipped floor 13 for superstitious reasons. At least it's not England, where the first floor is actually the second. There's a wall bang you can do through the elevator room which was partially OP. This hasn't been removed, but has been toned down so much that you'll need a sniper of some sort to perform it. So although nerfed, Valve is aware of it and has deemed it worthy. You should learn it, if only to avoid having it used against you. The concrete around the base of the crane at A has been raised to stop you from peeking over the top so easily. You can still do it, but you won't see much and will be vulnerable to attacks from the ramp. They've patched up the gaps in the cover at mid, which I pointed out last video as being something they'd probably patch, and now they have, so that's good. There was a patch note about there being gaps between the tarpaulins, but I looked about and couldn't find any changes at all. So maybe it's like those black props, where the old version has changed as well, but still with working textures. There are still gaps between them that I could find, letting you see through to the other side of ramp in both directions. They have added extra clipping around them on A ramp though. Looks like there were a few boosts remaining, like along this wall here. And they've added clipping elsewhere, and just like with the last update, a lot of these are thanks to Bonner97's comprehensive list. You can see a few of the changes here, though I'm sure there are more. I'm going away for over a week. Not normally a problem, but at the rate CSGO's being updated at the moment, I'm worried I'm going to miss out on the release of Source 2 or Half-Life 3 or something. So if that does happen, don't wait around for a video from me. I recommend following Banana Gaming, who is always impossibly fast at releasing update videos. It's like he never sleeps or something.